The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. Today is Wednesday. It is April 1st, 2020, April Fool's Day. There's nothing funny. There's no need for you to even try to do any April Fool's jokes today. But let's get right into the show. Imagine supporting a politician or a political party or any political faction for anything other than what that party, that politician can do for you. Period. That's the end of the show. That's the whole argument. Imagine thinking that politics in 2020, hell, in the 21st century, hell, in the last 200 years, should be based or is based on fanaticism. Imagine thinking that you shouldn't hold politicians accountable. You should go around trying to attack people who are trying to hold your politician accountable. I'm feeling pretty good this morning. It's been a hard couple of weeks, and I'm thinking that the solution to I'm thinking that the appropriate distraction from the coronavirus, the epidemic, the pandemic that is outside of our doors, is to focus the energy and the rage on all of these extremely fatuous individuals in our country who believe that the best policy in terms of politics is to kiss the ass of politicians instead of having politicians kiss the collective ass of the people. That's how you get. If you ever wonder how it is that people can still support Donald Trump, it's because this is the type of politics that we have created in this country. This is the nature of American politics that transcends both the Democratic and the Republican Party, or rather, to make it more pertinent to this conversation, transcends the Republican Party and infects the Democratic Party as well. Imagine supporting someone who is being elected into office to institute policy, right, to pass policy that is germane to the lives of the American people, but you're not supporting them for their policies. My question is, what the hell are you supporting them for? If the policies of the Republican Party are going to hurt you, then what the hell are you supporting them for? Same exact question has to be asked about people who support people like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, all of these people, because here's how the conversation is going to go. You listen to any of my episodes, you're going to see. Actually, no, scratch that. Imagine also, in the face of a global health crisis, in the face of a pandemic, in which the motivation of profit, the profit motive in healthcare is currently the thing that is exacerbating the number of deaths, right? There's a bidding war that's going on right now for N95 masks. There's a bidding war that's going on right now between states, among states, right? Like Florida versus Georgia, but also Florida versus Georgia versus the federal government in order to get the PPE, the personal protective equipment for nurses and doctors to survive this pandemic. Imagine in the face of that unbelievable atrocity, being opposed to stripping away the profit motive from the healthcare system altogether. In other words, imagine opposing a single payer Medicare for all system in the face of a global pandemic. Imagine playing politics as usual. I mean, the feigned outrage. Oh, I can't believe you said something that didn't have the appropriate tone, and the disingenuous arguments. Oh, I can't believe Bernie Sanders' press secretary actually attacked Kamala Harris over cancer when Kamala Harris's mother died of cancer. I'm sorry, what? That's where we are at the beginning. Funny sidestep here. My natural inclination is to say, or the phrase that's commonly used in this kind of circumstance is, imagine doing these things in the middle of a pandemic. But the reality is that we're at the very beginning of a pandemic, and these fools are out here acting as if things are normal when people are dropping dead in their homes because, well, they know they don't have insurance, so there's no reason for them to go to the doctor. Imagine playing politics as usual when 3.3 million people not only lost their jobs, but they lost access to their health care. They lost their insurance, and their family lost their insurance. So now not only are they not able to pay their rent this morning, they're also not able to go and see if the symptoms that they're feeling and they're experiencing and suffering, they're not able to go check to see if that's coronavirus. And imagine in the midst of that, thinking that the solution is for you to be a sycophant, a fan, for you to be standing a politician. Oh, I'm part of K-Hive. Oh, I'm Joe. I'm riding with Biden. The politicians who opposed a Medicare for all system, which without question would have helped ameliorate the unbelievable damage, the unbelievable carnage that is getting ready to come our way. Because at a minimum, it would have gone through and ripped out the underlying profit motive in our healthcare system. Now, could we have gotten it instituted in time? No. It's why we should have started this years ago. But we've been playing politics like this is like it's a fucking game in America for so goddamn long that now it's time to pay the piper, and we're not prepared. The problem in American politics is that people have been kissing the asses of politicians when the politicians should have been kissing our asses all this time. That's what's wrong with American politics. And I want you to be sure I want you to understand something. There's not a single thing. I can't even comprehend a reason to support Bernie Sanders if Bernie Sanders was not literally fighting for the things that I'm fighting for. Like, why do you support any of these other why would you support Joe Biden? Just give me a reason why you would support Joe Biden because I understand that there's something wrong in your brain. For people who who literally look at Joe Biden, who no one is excited about, his own goddamn supporters aren't even excited about him, according to the latest ABC poll, right? He has more people who are not excited about him at all than are enthusiastic about him, right? So clearly there's something wrong going on in the brains. And what's wrong is the way we've been playing politics in America. The way we've been playing politics in America is to venerate these fools. These politicians who should be subservient to the people. They should be groveling before us. Every single politician who is receiving a check from the American people should be kissing our asses. But instead, we've created this sycophant, this mentality of, slay queen. Imagine thinking that people are going to line up and support Joe Biden when he is literally standing against what would be a solution to this pandemic, not in terms of a vaccine, but in terms of people being able to be seen. Do you know there's something wrong with America, and it's not just the politicians. It is the fact that we have allowed a culture to seep down into the minds of the people where we worship political leaders when they should be worshiping us. They should be groveling before the people, because it's the people that not only give them the consent to govern, it's the people who pay their goddamn bill. It's the people who make them the millionaires. Every single politician in this country should be serving us. They should have a subservient spirit towards the people. I'm sorry. And see, people hear this and they're like, oh no, well, this guy is radical. Oh, this guy is revolutionary. This guy has a problem. No, my friend, you You who look at these politicians and don't think that they owe you something, something is wrong with you. You remind me of the people who go to these jobs and make their bosses millionaires and billionaires and don't think that those corporations owe them anything. And you see that paradigm is shifting now that this pandemic has exposed the reality of how important labor is to capital. All of a sudden, you're seeing strikes all over the country. Solidarity with everyone who's striking. There's something wrong in America, and the very thing that's wrong in America is exacerbating this pandemic, and we're just at the beginning of it. What's wrong in America is that we look at these politicians like they are celebrities, when they should realize at the core of everything that they do, they are our servants. Every single one of them, from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to Kamala Harris to Bernie Sanders to Joe Biden, you are our servants. You're not a celebrity. You're not a superstar. You are a servant of the people. Help the goddamn people. Instead, you've got these bootlickers running around the country. Oh, Slave Queen, we stand. Oh, K-Hive, all this bullshit. I mean, get out of here with that subservient mentality. That's why you will never get anything from this system. That's why this system will only exploit you better than any pimp ever could. These politicians should be shining our shoes. Instead, we're licking their boots. Well, I'm not. Some of you imagine being a bootlicker for a politician who should be shining your shoes. See, the world has been upside down for a very long time. People don't understand how we have not been able to figure out this calculus, how someone who needs the benefit, people who rise to power through the benefit of millions of votes still have to be able to be humble and serve the will of the people. But what has happened is that we've allowed celebrity culture to seep into our politics, and it has infected it like a virus. And today, in the midst of a pandemic, at the beginning of a pandemic, people are still kissing the ass of politicians who aren't doing a damn thing to help us, both Republican and Democratic. And that's my music. Let's take a breather.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Here we go. Well, I know that's a hard shift, but there's nothing like this patron party go-go music to bring it down on a few notches. Very special thank you to all of our patrons. I know it's hard. It is a hard time for everybody. So all of you who are currently a patron and those who have been patrons but can't afford to be a patron anymore because you've lost your job, love and respect to every single one of you. Patron party, very special welcome and thank you to Amanda Troutman. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. Very special thank you to Catalina Quintero. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to patreon.com/The BPD Show, where you get twice the content and none of the advertisements like you'll hear right here. Yep. All right. Listen, I just had to get that off my chest. Because it's been bothering me. It doesn't calculate. It does not compute. All of these people who are suffering underneath this system who still manage to lick the boots of a politician because why? Because what? What you think Joe Biden is handsome or something? Joe Biden doesn't want to do a goddamn thing for you any more than Donald Trump wants to do for you. Donald Trump, let's look at the proof is in the pudding. Look at what the current Democratic Party is doing for us right now in the midst of this pandemic. They didn't even take the time to warn us that this goddamn plague was coming. Democrat nor Republican. They did not take the time to tell us that this goddamn plague was coming to ravage our nation. And in the middle of it, God damn it, we're at the beginning. At the beginning of it, they're not doing anything to help working families. It's rent day. What has either party done for you to help you pay your rent at the beginning of this global pandemic? What have they done but give you platitudes? Joe Biden tweeting out that evictions should be delayed. No evictions. He tweeted that out today. You stupid you should have been advocating for. How opportunistic to say it on the first of the month when people are faced with the reality versus advocating for it all along the way, teaming up with Bernie Sanders, who's been advocating for it since I tweeted it a couple weeks ago. I don't know if he got it from me, but I certainly, listen, if you look at this pandemic, if you thought about it soberly, you saw what we should have been doing from the beginning, but our political system, both parties, has failed us and people are going to die. And it ain't just going to be people dying from the coronavirus. It's going to be people dying from all sorts of things, people who don't have health care anymore, who lost their jobs and they've been the recipients of, they've been receiving chemotherapy. And now they aren't going to be able to get chemotherapy because they lost their job. And you want to take the time to lecture. Listen, can I tell you something about Brianna Joy Gray? Joy, I don't even know. I don't even know the sisters. Is it Gray Joy or Joy Gray? I don't know. Bree. I just know her as Bree. Me and Bree have disagreed. She's the press secretary for Bernie Sanders. She and I have had scorched earth arguments on Twitter. I mean, honestly, I'm sure that there was I'm sure there was a point where she honestly could not stand me, and she knows that the feeling was mutual. Okay, so I want you to I put that into context for this next conversation. Imagine looking at 3.3 million people losing access to their health care, losing their jobs, and saying that Brianna Joy Gray, what is that sister's name? Bree, I ain't trying to play you. I'm just horrible with names. Bree quote tweeted Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, who's talking about that we don't need anybody nobody should have to pay for COVID-19 testing or treatment. That's cool. That's true. That's accurate. But guess what? The same thing I said is the same thing that Bree said. No one should be paying to get treatment for any of this. Not out of their pockets. Imagine people dying, and this is what Bree said, imagine people dying from cancer and diabetes because they're poor. And in the context of that conversation, like the backdrop more than anything else, there are people this morning who are waking up to the reality that they can't get dialysis because they no longer have insurance. They can't get their diabetes medicine because they no longer have insurance. They cannot continue their life-saving chemotherapy treatments because they don't have insurance. Imagine gaslighting America and saying that, because Bernie Sanders' press secretary called out Kamala Harris over poor people dying of cancer. There is a problem in our country that goes beyond our politicians. It seeps down into the political consulting class, and it seeps down to these rank and file bootlickers on Twitter. And my question for you is, what the hell do you even support these politicians for? Like, what valid reason? Oh, she's a black woman? Candace Owens is a black woman. Diamond and Silk, they're black women. That's not good enough. Oh, what do you support this woman for? What do you support her for so much that you're willing to gaslight America out of policy that will save lives? I mean, the disingenuousness is at an all-time high. And you know what? It's time to pay the piper. The chickens are coming home to roost. Whatever cliche you want to interject at that point, that's what's happening around us. Because the reality of it is that I think they estimated around 40 million people are going to be unemployed soon. Or was it 32 million? Around 32 million people are going to be unemployed soon. And you think this is the time to play games? You think this is a time to be, we stand Kamala. Oh, cool. Okay, fine. But what is Kamala doing for the people? She's not running for office anymore, so fine. What is Joe Biden doing for the people besides showing up to the party late? Finally, finally, on the first of the month, saying that evictions should be delayed. No more moratorium on evictions. We've been advocating for that since we got wind, but since the 1st of March. We've been fighting for that since March. And Johnny come lately just to get a couple likes and retweets. There's something significantly wrong with this country. The problem is so deep, and don't think that it doesn't exist in progressive circles, right? It's just that the threshold is a lot higher, because we really, honestly, if Bernie Sanders turned on Medicare for all, we turn on Bernie Sanders. But there are other issues that are pervasive. It permeates the entirety of our political apparatus. Politicians should be shining our shoes. Instead, the people are licking their boots. And that's the problem. And that's why you can't get anything out of this country. That's why people are unemployed and can't get a check for months. And when they get a check, it's going to be a one-time little itty bitty check that is nothing compared to the burden of the debt that's around them, of the responsibilities that they have to maintain in this system, because they're not going to they're not going to institute a moratorium on evictions. They will institute a moratorium on foreclosures to protect homeowners, but they're not going to do it for people who are renting. That should tell you everything that you need to know about this country. But guess what? That's not only coming from the racist in chief in the White House, the white supremacist in chief, Donald Trump. That's coming from Democratic leaders. None of them are doing anything for the renters of this country, but they've done everything for the landlords. Landlords don't have to worry about their mortgages this month, but renters do. Why? Because we have leaders who know that you're going to be their fan and that you're going to support them no matter what, and that you're going to always kiss their ass when they should be kissing your ass. Wake the hell up, people. Now, imagine thinking that America is going to survive this pandemic without making drastic changes. They prevaricated as long as they possibly could. They delayed, they stalled, but now the reality is setting in of how many people are getting ready to die. The reality is setting in of how many people are losing their jobs. The reality is setting in all around us, and we are just at the beginning. Imagine being stupid enough or disingenuous enough to think that your politics as usual is going to fly in the face of tens of millions of people being unemployed, also mourning the death of loved ones and friends. America's only going to survive this if it fundamentally changes. Period. We haven't even seen what this thing is getting ready to do to us. We have no idea. Everybody is going to know somebody, even if it's not an immediate family member. I pray for all of our sakes that we manage to make it out of here without losing a family member. But everybody is going to know somebody who dies from this thing. Everyone is going to be grieving. Everyone is going to feel the economic impact. Even those of us who are staying at home, working from home, we're going to feel some economic impact. It's just delayed. The people who are working hourly wages and people who got laid off of their salary jobs immediately, they felt the impact right away. It's just a delayed response for the rest of us. We're all going to feel the economic impact and the emotional impact of this. Now multiply that feeling of despair that you're having by tens of millions of people. And you think America is going to just come out of this unscathed by you playing politics as usual? There's something really wrong with the brains of people who think that. They're hanging on. This is the death pangs of America. It's not just the death pangs of our economic system, not just the death pangs of our political system, but if we do not change how we operate, then it will be the death pangs of this country. We barely made it out of the Great Depression as a country, as a nation. A war brought us out of it. God forbid we have to start another. I mean, we can't even start another war. We got so many wars going already. A war won't bring us out of this economic decline. Now, imagine thinking that your politics as usual is going to be sustainable in the midst of both a Great Depression and a plague like the 1918 Spanish flu, in the 1919 Spanish flu, in the 1919, the second wave was even more deadly than the first wave. Imagine thinking that you're going to be able to tell people to get out and go to work. It boggles, it blows, it defies comprehension. It blows my mind to think that these people are they just denying the truth? Are they just ignoring? I mean, like, what is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you when the thing that you're literally doing in the name of protecting your power are the things that are precisely what's going to cost you your power and cost us this entire system? Like your behavior, your machinations are the exact things that will lead to your destruction, both professionally, politically, economically. And yet you proudly double down on the same stupid things that you've been doing all this time. Well, some of the questions, some of the more pertinent, I don't know if they're pertinent, but they're good for, there's some questions that are being asked on social media that I think are worthwhile considering. They're not necessarily pertinent because they're all intellectual thought experiments, I guess. And the question is, what have you changed your mind about? What policy in the midst of this pandemic, or at the beginning of this pandemic, what policies have you changed your mind about? We don't want to explore what you have a confirmation of, right? A lot of people have doubled down on their beliefs, but what have you changed your mind about? And what I've changed I've doubled down on my belief that we need a universal basic income, that we need Medicare for all, that we essentially need a socialist economy. We need a socialist economy for the poor, like we have a socialist economy for the rich. Though that's what I've been doubling down on. But what have I changed my mind about? I've changed my mind about whether or not this system is salvageable at all. Whether this country, this political system, this economic system, is it salvageable at all? Or is it so self-destructive that there's nothing that we can do to even save it? Imagine listening to this episode and thinking, oh, he's so angry. Imagine looking at everything that's happening around us and tone policing, concern trolling. That just shows me that anyone who is concerned about tone, you are so far removed from the realities of what's happening around us before the pandemic. The realities of what's happened around us before the pandemic, but you're certainly oblivious to what's happening in the middle. There it is again. At the beginning of this pandemic, you're so utterly clueless that you're not qualified to lead. You're not. You're not qualified to be in a position of leadership at the beginning of a pandemic when you haven't the faintest idea of how hard it's been out here for people before this pandemic. And now it's going to be hard for millions more. Imagine thinking that the way to approach this pandemic, imagine thinking that we should just be calm, cool, and collected over the fact that our political leaders knew that this thing was coming and did nothing to protect us from it. Nothing to prepare us for it. Nothing to make sure that the nurses and the doctors had all the equipment they needed, all the PPE that they needed. What other response is there? What other emotions should we have? I mean, sorrow, yes. Plenty of sorrow and grief going around. But rage, fury, just the unimaginable irresponsibility, the irresponsibleness of our leaders to have known that this was coming as early as January, late December. They knew that this thing was coming and they played politics as usual with us. And now imagine being stupid enough to cape for this system, for these political leaders. And one of them, I don't care. Imagine feeling that it's your responsibility to defend the honor of one of these political leaders who knew this was coming and did nothing to help you. And now one of your family members or one of your friends are likely to die from this. How stupid are you? Yeah. Stupid enough to continuously be conned by con men, both political and organizers. Nah, man, I'm good. I'm good on all this. I'm good on this entire system. I'm good. And you know what else? This pandemic, because of the actions of this country, because of the actions of our political leaders, because of the action or the inaction, more accurately, because of the inaction of our political leaders, they're just like moths to a flame, just playing politics as usual. They can't help but to give us the platitudes. They could not help but to ignore the science. They could not help but to be more concerned with their stock portfolio than they were securing the health and safety of their constituents. Because of their actions and their inaction. Well, anyway, I'm not even going to finish that sentence. Patrons, stay tuned. I'll give you more after the music. And everybody else, we got to do better.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.